if we go to the e-learning, I have uploaded the slide for chapter 7. You may have a look when I actually deliver the lecture for today. Wait a moment. Saya nak buka slide. Oh, lupa. Saya kena share attendance. Wait a moment. Apa khabar semua? Senyap je ni? Sihat? Baik. Yang lain sihat ke?
Mantap.
Iqbal mantap. Iqbal sarapan apa pagi ni Iqbal?
Amazing.
Awak sarapan apa pagi ni?
Push lain macam jalan.
Tanya je. Kalau tak cakap lah awak berpuasa. Kejap ya. Saya nak share attendance. Okay, please scan your attendance. Okay, so before I will share the key information on chapter 7. So I will take about 5 to 10, between 5 to 10 minutes, between 5 and 10 minutes to discuss about your interview questions. Okay, I have seen that some of you, most of you have uploaded on e-learning. We're going to discuss that. So far, how's the progress? I just want to know. It's okay, I'm going to ask later. So baru ada 21 students. 21 students. So we have another 12 students still not joining the class yet. Okay, so first of all, we're going to glance through the question first based on what you have submitted before. Where is it? So this is for group number, which group is one? Group 4. Okay, before that I want to go to group 5 first. So I actually want every group to see this as an example. So when you start an interview, make sure you actually ask the background question. You want to know who are your interviewees. So in that case, I want every group to have this kind of questions. Okay. So and then they also have identify key questions. So this is what I meant. You do not actually you must understand when it comes to the interview process, it might take longer time. Okay, so that's the reason why it's very important for you to just simply choose 5 key questions and trying to make this kind of probing question or additional questions. Most probably, if you look here, so this group basically want to uncover the issue of fundings. Okay, because when we develop the case study, definitely we want to know first the background of that particular topic, and more importantly, what kind of issues that had been encountered by the company. Okay, having said that, if you look here, so how does your company receive your first funding? Okay, this is good. Maybe when you do this kind of interview, you might start, okay, would you please tell me when you start the business, how basically you raise your funding? So I think yeah, they have some additional question here. Okay. So wait. Okay, if you look here, uh, wait a second. Okay, kalau if you look here, how do you compete with other company to get fund? Are there any tips? Okay. I just have some kind of reservation with regard to number 4. What do you mean, Hazel and team? How do you compete with other companies to get fund? Hazel and team?
I think it means like because they get funding from venture capital company.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there's so many candidates there, and then
Mm-hmm.
how you can outperform and actually get the fund, secure the fund successfully. I think
Okay.
that's what we mean.
So that means how basically they try to convince the potential or prospect investor, right? That's what you
Yes,
meant.
yes.
Okay. So when it comes to this kind of investors, it can be coming from angel investor. So we call it angel. Angel is actually not representing an organization. Normally, they just become like a philanthropist or an individual who are interested. Or you can go to venture capitalists. So venture capitalists basically a company that are interested to invest into your business, and then normally it can be in terms of that, it can be in terms of equity. For example, they want to have some share in your company. Okay, so having said that, maybe you're going to say that there are two aspects when it comes to this. Whether first, we know that if they want to apply from the government agencies, the amount is limited. So you're going to ask them how they make sure that you could be able to produce a proposal or business pitching better than other companies. That's actually the first part. Secondly, most probably certain company, for example, like if they approach this kind of venture capitalists, so normally they need to make sure that whatever aspect that they want to approach the venture capital is totally in line with the venture capital objective. You must understand in Malaysia, our venture capital is not as strong as other countries, especially when we try to compare in Singapore. So that's the reason why many of Malaysian company they go to Singapore because of the ecosystem is very big. They have a lot of venture capitalists. But when we approach venture capitalists, venture capital companies, so you must understand each venture capital company normally they have this kind of what we call it objective. I mean, what basically type of business they very much interested to invest. Okay, for example, some venture capital maybe they're focusing on ICT. Some venture capital maybe they focus on food and beverage. So that depend on the objective, and then the time and the amount is totally different. I think if you have learned about funding for tech based, right? So for example, like even for venture capital, sometimes we want to see whether A series, B series, C series. That means how big the amount that could be provided by the venture capital companies. Okay, so I can get what you mean, but maybe you need to paraphrase. That means you need to reword. So anything. So this is very good one. Okay. So having said that, most probably you need to focus your aspect on question 2, 3, and 4. So I believe that by focusing on these three questions, definitely you might get some kind of insight on what basically the main challenges experienced by the firm. Okay. And then you need to mention to them eventually you're going to give some recommendation for them to reconsider, for them to consider. Okay, good. This is good example. You can see the way they structure just 5 questions. So that means we must understand when we approach the interviewees. So some of them are quite busy. So we must make sure that the question that we ask is very precise and totally can shorten this kind of interview time. For example, if you look at question number 1, they want to know about how basically the company raise money. Okay, so most probably when the interviewee reply or answer these questions, so some of the answer is actually has been stated before. So you do not need to ask 1.2 or 1.3 maybe. Okay, maybe 1.3 dia takkan cerita lah. Okay, this is the additional question that you're going to ask. Okay, so very good work for group number 5. Okay. So for group number 6, this is very simple question. Okay, group number 6, are you here? The team members for group number 6, 4 of you only, is it? Okay, Naufal, Lutfi, Farhan, and Faris. Yeah, I actually mentioned you need to come up with 5 main questions, but you also need to think what would be the additional question. For example, how to retain the employees. So for me, it's very general. You also need to prompt, for example, do they actually have any scheme, or perhaps what kind of employees they want to retain. So basically, when we talk about retention, is a very what we call it, retention among the professional, technical professional is very challenging, because once they actually have this kind of skill, for example, they have this kind of certified, they have the what we call it, opportunity to jump from one company to another company. So you must actually consider this as a big question for tech-based company. Okay, so for example, as we know, okay, normally if you're working, as simple as you're working as an accountant, certain big company, they're going to sponsor the employees, okay, to further their study in professional accounting course. Okay, but once they get this kind of what we call it, certificate, that means they become the certified public accountant or certified financial accountant. So basically, they have this kind of value in the industry. So how is this company going to retain that? Okay. So I believe that for group number 6, I would recommend, I would highly, extremely encourage you to modify this question, okay, by adding some kind of background question, okay, and then maybe you also need to understand, because at the first place, when we ask about the employees or the talent who are working in the company, you must understand the nature of the business, as well as what kind of employees that basically they retain, and how basically they recruit the employees. That's actually the main aspect when it comes, I mean, regardless whether it's tech-based or non-tech-based company. So when it comes to the human resource, it's basically the recruitment of competent talent, and eventually how they're going to retain the talents, okay, in the organization. So make sure you modify. Will you do that? Group number 6. Hello, group number 6. Dengar tak?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. So would you please modify your questions? So this is quite interesting lah sebenarnya. Okay. Panggil aku aja. So basically, I believe this is actually mobile apps company. Having said that, the recruitment and selection of the employees should be, someone from technical base. Okay. Okay. So that's actually for group number 6. For group number 4, the thing like this. Okay, you have this kind of opening questions. Okay, that's good. What's basically your topic? What's your topic? Product innovation. I think some of the questions you do not need to ask. For example, what feature makes a good leader? Why you want to ask this question? Guys? Group number 6, hello. Why you want to ask question number 3, second 3? Ada dua. You have you are the redundant kat situ.
Yeah, Doctor. Actually, I think it's request from one of our group. Sadiq. I mean, we already interviewed them, and it's
Jopi,
impromptu.
you guys have interviewed the company?
Yes, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
the thing like this. If you actually have conducted the interview, or perhaps in the future, when you complete an interview like this, and then suddenly you get some kind of additional question, I trust that what you can do in order to ask them. This has happened to me so many times. For example, this is totally happened when I conduct an interview, and then the next process after you conduct the interview is transcribing process. That means you need to type again, you need to put in words what basically the reply that you get from the interviewees. So you need to type. So normally after I conduct the interview and then I type this kind of interview transcript, and then suddenly I found that I couldn't listen well what basically the point, and I cannot make sense. That means maybe during that time, when they answer, I believe that I overlook the meaning. So normally I just simply call them in case you have a good rapport with the interviewees, or perhaps you can drop an email seeking the clarification with regard to several things, in the hope that they're going to reply with your request lah. Okay. So yup, you see you have the question. So right now, even you have this kind of supporting question, I trust that maybe some of the supporting question basically will be fall under one of these category. For example, when we talk about challenges, so we are talking about COVID-19, yes. Okay, maybe you can put like COVID-19 under this kind of number two. Okay. So that means after this, you do the transcription. After the transcription is actually where you try to make some meaning from the transcripts. So that means you try to categorize, you want to do this kind of coding. Okay. So that's actually after you have completed the interview. Okay, ada tak group yang saya tak semak lagi? Any group? Hello? Any group? Group 1. Okay, sorry.
Group 1, Doctor.
Okay, wait a second. I'm going to open group 1. Tunggu sekejap ya. Saya buka semula e-learning. Group 1. Group 1. Oops. Okay. Sorry, it's because semalam saya ada 3 group. Okay, group 1 belum ya. Okay, group 1, can you see here? Background and history of the company, that's very good. Okay. How does the company being established? Okay. Service and product commercialization. Okay. Oh, too long. Banyaknya, group 1. Okay. Group 1, maybe company service, you do not need to put directly because you're talking in terms of company service. This can be another topic. Maybe you can simply choose some or several questions that very much relevant with the commercialization process. For example, when you want to ask about does your company conduct market research before the commercialization to the market? Yes, or perhaps they're going to answer this because normally when the company get any kind of funding from venture capital or perhaps from any institution, normally should conduct the market research normally. Okay, so you need to know the process because it's not easy for the venture capital or grant providers, or perhaps if they join any kind of accelerator program for the tech startup. So they're actually going to be trained to conduct market research even before they actually being selected. So one of the main criteria that people want to know basically to what extent the company has a good understanding about customers. Okay, having said that, they should conduct that. Maybe you can ask and then maybe you can elaborate more how basically the outcome from the market research give them some insight, okay, about commercialization process. Company development, apa you punya sebenarnya? Oh, business development, patutlah banyak soalan. Okay, company challenges. So this is so many questions, but I believe that try to focus. Okay, if you have so many questions, try to actually just focus on 10 main questions. 5 is very minimum, but here you must understand they don't have a lot of time to answer your questions. So try to to be specific. Okay, unless if you have an ample time. For example, you're going to tell them, will you please spend your 2 hours time with me? Were you willing to do that? So I'm afraid that it's not actually easy, but doable. You faham yang maksud saya? Okay, Chris Group, do you understand? I'm afraid that if I look into more of this question, you can actually do PhD from this question.
Exactly. We just choose. We make a lot of questions so we can know which one is more suitable for the company, doctor.
Yes, yes. Okay, so yeah, try to find the, because when I look in terms of this, so for me this is at PhD level lah. I did my PhD which is in qualitative research, and I believe that what you're going to ask is a lot. Okay, so try to focus on the specific topic. If not, because when we do this kind of qualitative research, it's like we actually swimming in a big ocean, in wide ocean lah sebenarnya. There are a lot of massive of information, because the next part will be challenging how you actually make sense of the data that you have extracted from your findings, from your transcript, or perhaps from the company report. Okay, so guys, simultaneously, what you can do, beside you having this kind of data letter, which is your interview transcript, you can also use any kind of secondary data. For example, you can simply go to the website of the company, try to find any kind of report or news. Okay, you can also use that. For example, maybe there's some kind of what we call news with regard to this company development. Okay, I think that's actually try to recap about what you need to do. Okay, next for your assignment project, boleh ambil 2 minute break tak? Kita ambil 2 minute break. We're going to continue at 10:30. Boleh ya? Guys, kita rehat 2 minit.
Boleh,
Break for 2
Doktor.
minutes. Okay, so for today, we're going to continue with chapter 7. I kept the chapter 3, in the middle, but here I want to focus on chapter 7 for today, at least to get an understanding with regard to the product development by the tech-based company. Okay, so before we proceed, I just want to get your understanding first. Guys, why do you think that product development is a very important aspect for the tech-based company? Why? Hello? Guys, are you here? Why do you think that? So back to my question, why do you think that the aspect of product development is very crucial, okay, for the tech-based company?
Because it makes the company still running on.
It's make sure the sustainability of the business, okay. Why?
To make the income.
To make the income, okay. What else? To actually they have a good position in the market, which is control the market share, very good. What else?
They still on the leading market product with other
Okay.
with competitive company.
Okay, okay. So if you look here, surprisingly, last 2 days ago, is it yesterday or 2 days ago, Apple launching the new products. Currently, it's very fast when it comes to this kind of product development. Am I right? So what basically being introduced by Apple 2 days ago? Siapa follow?
iMac,
iMac, correct. What else lagi? Apa lagi?
iPhone warna purple.
Yes, iPhone warna purple. Saya masih nak beli tapi sebab dia tak tahulah because I'm using this kind of phone dah 3 tahun lebih dah. So I'm thinking of switching the phone. But tengoklah macam mana. But the thing is dia must yelah. So that's very interesting. What else? Apa lagi? Yang mahal, yang lagi satu. Yes, iMac and apa lagi produk yang dia keluarkan?
iPad.
Yes, iPad whereby this is actually they use their own processor. Okay, M1 processor. So having said that, I believe that they actually launched the last product, for example, on iPhone 12 or perhaps MacBook, right? They just actually launching it like in September or October last year. So as you can see that they're going very fast in order to make sure that they're still relevant in the market. Okay. Okay. So having said that, like been said by some of you just now, so it's very important to make sure that they're still relevant in the market. So that's why we want to focus on product development, but we want to see the aspect, what basically the processes or model that should be adopted by the company. So this is the learning objective for this chapter. First of all, you need to understand the important reducing product cycle time, as we mentioned just now, because when it comes to the product cycle time, that means to what extent the time basically taken by the company from the R&D into the market. Okay, and then in order to do that, so that's why the company can use several strategies. For example, they can go into the concurrent development, and then they can also use this kind of modularity technique process. Okay, and then that's actually the first aspect. The second one, we also want to make sure that it's not about how fast basically we could be able to reach the market, but the most important part, to what extent the company understand the needs and the what we call the problems as well as the need of the customers. So here is very crucial for the company to identify and prioritize customer features for new product. So whatever product they actually want to advertise, so they should know. For example, when they launch this kind of this kind of iPad, okay, iPad Pro, that uses M1 processor. That means people actually want to have speed in terms of speed and perhaps in terms of the pixel of the screen, for example. Okay. So in order for the company to do that, ni dia punya this kind of things. Use a perception map, conduct a concept test, okay, do a conjoint analysis and use the Kano method. So this is some of the technique that can be used. We're going to elaborate that, okay. And then select the pro and cons of reducing product cycle times. And then we also want to look in terms of the use of quality, what we call it. For us to actually go into the market, first we want to understand how fast. Second is about the feature that wanted by the customers. And thirdly, how basically you could be able to produce a good product. So this is through prototyping, house of quality, design for manufacturing. I trust that many of these kind of things you have learned from your project management or total quality management subject. Okay, and describe the gate stage process. That means to what extent we actually use this kind of process from one aspect to another aspect. And the stage gate process can also be done, but normally can also be used in the funding process, whereby for example, if you actually asking grant from MTDC, they're not simply give you like 400,000 immediately. They're going to actually what we call it, allocate the money based on your progress. Okay, for example, even though for the product development, most probably they will giving you like 400,000 ringgit in terms of grants, but most probably they want to see the progress. Okay, so after you have completed this kind of market study, they're going to provide you 100,000 ringgit. Okay, and after that you show some kind of progress. That means you do this kind of you have the kind of traction. That means you have some kind of evidence. You manage to able to get your first sale, so they're going to give another kind of funding lah, or allocation. Okay, so this is what we're going to learn. So first aspect that we're going to see for this in this chapter, basically reducing product cycle time. Okay, so first of all, before you want to develop any kind of product, okay, or perhaps you run a company, you must understand the SOP. Again lah, I will say that standard operating procedure. That means the processes, the key processes that need to be executed by the company to transform the, if you look here, from idea until you deliver it to the customers. Okay, it definitely take time. Particularly, for example, if you take from the tech-based company, like Apple, for example. Okay, so they need to always ideate what basically a new feature needed by the company. Okay, so after that, they will go to the system engineering and pass it over to the industrial design people. Okay, after this is like the process. So the mechanical engineering. So if you look here, until they go to the prototyping. Okay, prototyping is actually for them to come up with the first product. Okay, to test whether it's actually feasible. Okay, in terms of the technology. Okay, and then yes, go to the manufacturing. That means this is going to be a very long process. Okay, so when we talk about the product cycle time, this is actually we're going to measure how long it takes companies to develop new product or service. Okay, if you look here, since previously the business, the nature of business in the industry is not so competitive, and secondly, when it comes to the advancement of technology, is very low during that time. But nowadays, if you look here, even I believe that it's getting faster. The product cycle time might take about between 6 months until 18 months. But here, ideally, if you look here, there should be less than 1 year. Okay, if you look in terms of the green color here, the ideal month that needs to be taken for the business to launch a new product should be less than 1 year. You always need to come out with a new product, with an improved product. Okay, what actually has been done by many companies, as you can see lah, especially if you are involved in the fast growing market. Okay, for example, like consumer growing market. Okay, macam iPhone, macam this kind of phone, what else? Software. So all of this basically being used by normal customers. Okay, so why is very important for them to reduce the product cycle time? As we know, increase the amount of time product can be on the market before becoming obsolete. That means we must make sure that we want to be first in the market. If we actually quite late to enter the market with the similar product, definitely the moment we enter the market, our competitors has introduced a new product, so we cannot compete with that. That's why it's very important for you to focus on product cycle time as well. Okay. Secondly, you want to speed the development of product adaptation, because when you launch the product to the customer, I think this is totally relevant with what we had discussed last time, which is the first mover. That means how you're going to be the first in the market. Okay. And the third reason, allow to delay product development effort until more is learned about market, competitors' action, and complementary technologies. And last but not least, give the company the potential to develop the advantages of being first to the market. So as we can see that, okay, the ability of the company to come up with the product first in the market is very crucial. And then the way we want to react with the with the competitors offerings. For example, maybe we are not actually become the first mover, we're not actually the pioneer in introducing that kind of technology or product to the customers, but we need to act fast, okay, to make sure that we are not left behind, okay, compare than the competitors. Okay, product development time can be reduced by, so these are some of the strategies, okay, that could be done by the business. Okay, having strong senior management support for rapid product development, and then you give some incentive structure designed to reward for fast product development. You also have a focused project team. Okay, for example, this is the way how basically Apple come up with the product. They don't have one team. Okay, normally what Apple are doing, kalau you tengok Apple basically what they are doing, they should have at least like 2 or 3 teams in terms of product development. Okay, for example, when they introduce iPad, there should be like 2 teams yang ada, and then the top management going to select what basically the best. But they don't simply abandon the idea from the second team. They're going to take it for product development. So that's why by having this kind of team, okay, focused project team, maybe they have like two or three teams, is going to fasten the process. Even perhaps you also need to understand when it comes to the business development in the future, if you actually in this kind of things, you must make sure that you have diversified team. You cannot totally depending your business development, or even when you enter gini lah, let me be frank with you, when you actually what we call it, go into this kind of job market, you work as a professional, you must actually be professional as possible, but at the same time you must develop this kind of network. Okay, I actually need to be frank with you, I have so many things to be done at my center right now. Okay, so for me to balance my what we call it KPI, I need to develop this kind of team informally. What I meant, for example, ada kawan saya yang saya fokus actually for research. So this is actually my friend. Ada kawan yang actually focus for program. And then for the program, this is normally happen lah. You must understand when it comes to this kind of what we call it what we call it, when it comes to this kind of organizational climate, I'm going to say that not everyone can work well with someone. Okay, you must have this kind of synergy between your friends. Tak semua orang boleh bekerja dengan you. Okay, I want to say like that. Not everyone can work with you, and if you want to work with someone else and you want to form a team, you must understand not everyone can work together. Okay, especially apa dia saya cerita. Okay, for example, kalau saya nak bekerja dengan orang ni, saya tak boleh bekerja dengan orang lain sebab dia bermusuh satu sama lain. You got it? That's my point. So you must understand about this situation lah. Okay, but this is where you need to act. I think just now some of you asking about leader. Again, we cannot deny leadership is playing important part indirectly lah. Okay, so how basically they manage, especially when you ask about human resource, for example, it totally should have a direct leadership, whereby the top management leadership style will influence the delivery of the people. Okay, powerful project leaders, experienced product development teams, and autonomous product development effort. So all of this actually need to be taken into consideration when it comes to product development. Okay, and then so this is the technique or perhaps the method that could be done by the people in order for them to what we call it to fasten the process. So first aspect that could be done by the company or manager is by using the concurrent development. So this is the process of undertaking some product development steps simultaneously. For example, you cannot simply wait. Some people, I cannot deny, ada setengah orang, some people basically they need to complete one task and then they will go to another task. But let me be frank with you, sometimes you also need to be multitasking, especially in the fast advanced punya industry right now. You cannot focusing on one aspect or one activities only. You need to be multitasking. You need to know how to coordinate your work well. Okay, so this is simply because it helps companies to reduce product cycle time. And then it's risky and requires high level of communication between part of the organization. Okay, but if you want to do this kind of things, so you must make sure that you could be able to communicate to each team, for example, to each stakeholders effectively. Simply because when we actually working very fast, sometimes we actually lacking of instruction given to the respected people. So that's the reason why it's quite risky. Okay, so this is actually the main difference between concurrent and sequential development. Okay, so for example, if you hear some people, they always want what we call it, the normal process. Normally we're going to take sequential development. For example, okay, macam you punya PSM lah, PSM for example, okay, you must actually go for chapter 1 and then you start with this kind of background and then with this kind of project research objective, research problem. Once you complete chapter 1, you will go to chapter 2. Okay, and chapter 2 take a long time, and then after that you go to chapter 3. That's actually sequential. But in reality, basically for you to make it faster, so basically you can start chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 simultaneously. Okay, for example, why I'm saying that because the outcome, some of the finding in chapter 1 can be used something in chapter 2. So similarly like this, when it comes to idea generation and opportunity assessment, so basically you do not need to wait. You can start actually making this kind of assessment simultaneously. Okay, and then when it comes to the opportunity assessment, you can start this kind of aspect for product or prototype development. So this is going to fasten the process. And then if you look here, the months of development is totally shortened than if you are using the sequential development process. So that's the reason why if you actually become the manager, what you need to do, you must make sure that every single department who responsible for this aspect basically have a good communication. They know what basically the role, so at least any kind of process that they want to do is not interrupted by errors. Okay, okay. So this is another example. Okay, concurrent product development. That means having said here, if you look here, this is quite I'm going to say integrated kind of team whereby any kind of input from one team to another team is totally interrelated. You nampak dekat sini? Okay. So the consumer will give feedback to the customer quality assurance. So they're always actually in communication in the loop. So what happens sometimes, those people in the manufacturing or R&D team not really communicate well with the sales and marketing. Contohnya, okay, if they actually not what we call it communicate well. For example, marketing say that we want to develop something based on the current needs, whereby our main customer is those coming from middle income earners. So we want to target them. Okay, but unfortunately, maybe the manufacturing team developed something that very costly, which is beyond the affordability of the middle income earners. So when it comes to the product launching, so they cannot actually compete in terms of price with the competitors. Okay, so that's why you must understand having this kind of good communication is very important. Okay, okay. So this is another technique. The first one, concurrent development. The second one, we also look in terms of modularity platform. Okay, so this is where to which a complex product can be built from smaller component. Okay, units from which something is made that can be created independently but function together. So we call it modularity. For example, when we look in terms of this laptop, okay, not everything should be done by one company. Okay, so if you look here, some of the component here, basic, for example, like the keypad, basically done by other kind of process. Okay, so this is going to fasten the process. That's why for Apple, for example, again Apple, to fasten the process, they need to rely much in terms of their the operation from the vendors, from the what we call vendors lah, from the suppliers. Okay, so they must communicate well, and at the same time they also want to protect their IP. So that's the reason why they're doing this, and sometimes it's totally secret kind of thing. And then each company that going to develop any product with Apple, they need to sign this kind of non-disclosure agreement. So that means it's totally secret lah. It's totally secret. And then normally for the employer, normally lah, this is quite norm. Bila you actually have this kind of competition, so normally there's some kind of contract that normally yang enforced to the employees lah. Contohnya, you bayangkan okay, they're working at Apple and suddenly the employees quit and want to work with Samsung. Definitely, it brings some kind of disadvantages to Apple. That's why they want to protect, to retain these employees rather than being what we call it, recruited by other companies. Okay. Jauh pula dia punya ni. Okay, this modularity. This is an example of modularity. For example, can you see this picture? It's from a car component. For example, if you actually drive car or you look at the car, you boleh nampak tak how many components? How many components? Basically, the banyak components. Contohnya, tire will be made by someone else. And then dia punya engine, dia punya sofa, cushion here, and then the door. Everything basically can be separated into several components. Okay? And then this is going to fasten the process. You are not making it you only. For example, like if you run this kind of business lah, for example, software business. So some of the aspect will be done by someone else. Macam group work lah. Okay, if you actually have this kind of group work, so you have delegated the task. Okay, someone need to be in charge in terms of contacting the company. Someone need to be in charge in terms of submitting this kind of interview question to me. And then when you conduct the interview, someone need to be in charge in terms of asking the question, and someone need to be in charge. So everything is actually done through a coordinated group work. Okay, sama juga. Okay, the product cycle time, facilitate customization. Okay, make product development easier and definitely reduce its cost. Okay, this is actually some of the advantages, but these advantages cause best competition. Okay, whatever that you do, definitely the other company will do that at the lower cost. Okay, and then market product architecture is inflexible because you need to follow the instruction. I mean, the needs that has been given by your managers, for example. So whatever the thing that you want to do, you need to follow it because you must make sure that it actually can be worked well after it's being completed lah. Okay, and requires technical standard. That's why in order to make sure that your product is functioning, so you need to follow this kind of standard. Okay, so make sure it's actually have this kind of thing because you want to give the guide. For example, you have actually developed this kind of car, and then the is actually using 15 size punya tire, and then suddenly the one that made the tire is actually making it bigger, so it's not really workable. Okay, so you need to give them some kind like instruction manual or the guide for them to do this kind of product development process. Okay, so modularity make the most sense when a product is composed of components that are very different from each other. Macam ni lah, macam kereta. Okay, so far it's totally different than tire. Okay, when customer demand is heterogeneous, that means they're going to demand a lot of things. When technical standard have been established, okay, that means you need to follow the SOP. So if you fail to do that, unfortunately, your product doesn't work well. Okay, when the pace of technical change is high, okay, when the firm producing different components have different capabilities, and finally, when the component do not have to be highly integrated. Okay, so that means even, for example, like tire and as well as window is totally not really well integrated, so it work well lah. Okay, so the next aspect that we're going to see is product platform. So this is another technique that can be used by the company to shorten the product cycle time. So this is the common technological base to which different features are added to create family of product, each targeted at different customers. You have this kind of product platform. That means, for example, macam ni cakap. Okay, I give the analogy like curry puff, kuih curry puff. Okay, so the product platform, like I mean, the puff is actually similar, but you actually make it different in terms of the fillings, in terms of maybe the decoration, something like that, or maybe like the cake. Okay, the base is actually similar. Okay, but the way you want to decorate and make it more different than others is totally based on the decoration lah. Okay, so can be built on variety of different type of common technology, whether you can use process technology, for example, like microprocessors, or perhaps physical architecture using this kind of automobile industry. Okay, when we talk about that platform, I just want to give you the example here. So this is an example of application by Volkswagen. Volkswagen is one of the big conglomerate in the automotive industry. So the brand under Volkswagen, like Audi, Skoda, Volkswagen, I think Skoda are not really well marketed in Malaysia. Like even for the company to penetrate to certain countries, they need to get approval lah. So like in Malaysia, maybe Skoda is not really well approved by the government, and the brand basically not so established well in Malaysia lah. Okay, so kalau if you look here in 1999, Volkswagen basically used similar kind of product platform common to produce 19 car models. Okay, so that means the frame that being used is totally similar, but eventually the design is different. So using this product platform approach, Volkswagen save about 1.5 billion per year in product development and capital expenditure. So this is another example. They use similar this kind of product platform, but they generate different product. Okay, for example, like Skoda, Volkswagen Golf, and then Audi. Okay, if you look here, it's a very different kind of product in terms of the branding, and we assume that it should be coming from different what we call it compartment, but in reality what they are doing, they just use a common product platform to minimize the cost and to shorten the product cycle time. Okay, so these are the advantages or disadvantages of using product platform. If you look here, companies can use more variety of customers without straining organizational efficiencies. Okay, so having said that, for example, if you look from Volkswagen perspective, if they want to target those customers among the high income earners, so normally they will focus on Audi. Okay, Audi which actually for well-do punya customers. But if they want to target someone that in the middle income, maybe they just focus on Golf. Okay, even though the platform that being used by Golf, Volkswagen Golf or Volkswagen Audi may be similar. Okay, so they don't actually straining organizational resources. They use similar resources. Secondly, to reduce cost, yes, because they do not need to take some time to reinvent and then buy a new machine to produce that kind of platform, because different platform might require different machine or robot. Okay, and then to facilitate market segmentation, yes, I mentioned about this already. That means like Audi targeting the high income as well, and then meanwhile Volkswagen targeting the high income and middle income, and then definitely to reduce product cycle time. But there are some kind of downside, which is disadvantages of using product platform. First, reduce product distinctiveness. Okay, so maybe it's quite similar, and then if the customers know about that, so definitely they would say that there's not much difference between Golf, Volkswagen Golf, as well as Audi, for example. Increases demand for the organizational coordination, because you need to coordinate, even though it's coming from similar product platform, but the coordination might be different because eventually the structure is different. Okay, unless if you take something like what Produa and Proton are doing, they're totally rebatch. Okay, for example, like X70 and X50, they just taken this kind of model from Geely. Or another example, like Produa, apa nama dia? Arus. Okay, Produa Arus. Produa Arus ni sama dengan apa? What basically the identical product Arus in Malaysia, but what basically the identical product that they replicate? Produa Arus. Guys? Do you know?
Mitsubishi. Oh, tak ingat lah tu.
No, Mitsubishi. No, it's not Mitsubishi. Anyone? Produa? Tahu tak Produa Arus?
Avanza.
No Avanza. Dah dekat dah tu. That means you mention about Toyota. Apa dia? Toyota Rush. Rush dengan, kalau kita tengok Toyota Rush, pernah dengar tak ni? Hello. Toyota Rush you tengok Dua Arus totally similar design. But okay, if you look there in terms of price is a bit different. Okay, even though the features is quite similar, but when it comes to the price is different because Pro2 normally targeting low as well as middle income earners. Okay. Meanwhile for Toyota they're different. Okay. So as you might aware, Pro2 basically, if I'm not mistaken, you can check this fact whether it's still actually sama ke tak, but Pro2 basically that has to have some share from Pro2 and then Toyota basically have share on the Hatsu. So having said that, some of the model by Pro2 sometimes is quite similar with the Hatsu as well as Toyota. Okay, so look here, increased demands for organizational coordination. Someone want to say something apa ni? Tak kena sangat kereta doktor tapi my Viking. Okay lah, sama lah Arus and Rush. Thank you. Yes, Arus and Rush is actually similar. Zanita, saya baru baca je Hatsu. Okay, so Arus and Rush is quite similar. Correct. Okay. Okay, so because definitely they use similar product platform on maybe some of the aspect yang dia tukar. For example, in terms of logo, dia tukar lah, definitely. Okay, maybe the interior, that means the sofa, maybe they change it, maybe. Okay, I'm not pretty sure. I'm not tak pernah naik Arus, tak pernah naik Rush. Okay, and leads to the over design of the low end product. So this is because, for example, you already designed that product for the middle range as well as high range product, but suddenly you need to come up with this kind of low range. So that's why it can go to the over design of low end product. Okay. Okay, so that's actually disadvantage of using product platform. I have mentioned about the example of product platform practiced by Volkswagen. Okay, and then so that's actually the first aspect. Can we take about 3-minute break? Kita ambil 3-minute break boleh? We go to the second stage, which is identifying the right product features. The first aspect for the product development, siapa yang bertanya pasal product, you kena consider about this. We want to actually reduce the product cycle time. The secondly is actually we want to make sure that whatever product that we develop totally in line with the customer needs. Kalau gitu, kita take a break sekejap. Maybe 11.10 lah, kita ambil dalam masa 6 minit. Take a break, then we're going to continue at 11. Okay, guys, take a break. Siapa nak minum air, boleh minum air. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm back. Guys, are you there? Okay, we continue. So this is actually the second aspect for the product development, whereby we're going to see to what extent the company could be able to identify the right product features. Okay, that means they develop something that really wanted by the customer, or at least the features, when they introduce new features, customer immediately want to buy it. Another what we call it, key aspect yang being launched by Apple. Apa lagi produk Apple launch baru ni? Saya lupa lah nama dia. There's one product which is not a common product by Apple but just recently launched. You tengok tak apa yang dia launch tu? Guys, saya pun tak, I'm not actually tengok
AirTag,
lagi.
doktor.
Sorry?
AirTag.
Yes, AirTag. Okay, apa benda AirTag tu? Correct.
Dia
This is-
macam key holding untuk track
Di-
kita punya key.
Correct. Okay. So this is something that we always thinking about. For example, if we misplace our wallet, we misplace our key, kan contohnya. So they want to use this kind of hardware, okay, whereby you attach. Am I right? Siapa yang cakap dari tu? Tak tengok lagi. But I just actually glance through AirTag tu sebenarnya. Have you look how it work? How it's functioning? Siapa yang cakap
Yes,
tadi
sir.
AirTag? Who's
Mari,
there?
doktor.
Faik, do you know how it's working? The AirTag?
Yes, so the AirTag is like the whole keychain, and then we can track the location of the key with the direction from the iPhone. It can
And
also make sound.
okay, yeah. Do you think that? Yeah, I just want to ask you. Do you think that this product can actually go far? That means customer is going to buy a tag. Guys, I want to get your opinion. Just now, Faik shared that you can simply like kat situ. Please comment. No for me. Yes, AirTag. Correct. No airbag. AirTag. Yes, AirTag. Okay. Dan itu tulis airbag. Okay, tak apa. AirTag. Okay. No for me. Okay. Hazel said that it's not for Hazel. How about others? Do you think that you want to buy AirTag? Tolong respond please. Are you going to buy AirTag? Okay. Let me see. No, I'm not really interested. No need. Yeah. Okay. But let's see. Even for me, yeah, I'm not pretty sure, but most probably you guys still young, maybe. Okay, you think that so for you to actually remember many things still okay. Okay. But most probably someone that quite busy and then have a lot of to do, they would be willing lah and to buy this A tag. I'm not pretty sure how much. Maybe you guys can check, go to the Apple website. Normally they have already published the price. Even kenapa saya tak pergi tengok price list, simply because I'm not interested to buy it like many of you here. Okay. But I believe that yeah, that depends. Maybe some people actually in need of having that kind of technology. That means you can simply detect the location of your keys, of your wallet, something like that. However, you also need to look in terms of the price. Okay. You very rich lah. Okay, Sadiq said losing the phone got me one. Okay, I think busy people won't use key. They use thumbprint or password for the house or car. Wow, RM150. Okay, RM150. Okay. Rasa mahal ke murah? 150. Will you actually buy a tag with the price of RM150? RM149? Very expensive, right? Okay. So, but definitely if they come up with this kind of product, they should have the target market. Even for example, one of the latest product that being launched by Apple is Apple TV. Okay. surprisingly in Malaysia we're not really into Apple TV. Not many. I barely see that many people are using Apple TV simply because we always use this kind of Android television. But but I believe that the market is quite big in European or America, in the US, in the US. Okay. Okay, so we go next. Satisfy customer needs. One need to come up with a product with features that are better with that than the competitors lah. Not easily done because simply including every features that customer might be interested in having will make the product too expensive and complicated to be appealing. Okay, so this is something that you need to understand like why they actually need to make sure that product that being launched is fulfilling the customer needs. Okay, for example like AirTag lah, kita bincang pasal AirTag. If we look here, sometimes we cannot understand why they introduce this. Yes, there's such a need for us to locate where is our missing items, but again with that price, most probably people start questioning. However, I believe that with this kind of product introduction by Apple, people start to aware that this kind of thing is basically feasible to be marketed. Okay, because all this while when we do this kind of innovation competition and then even class assignment sometime, many of the students basically proposing this solution. Contohnya when we actually ask them to design about innovative wallet, dia akan cakap the wallet that they want to create basically have this kind of tag, okay, which is they can simply detect the location. Okay, I believe that the launching of AirTag product definitely will open to new opportunities for other products. Okay, that means maybe some companies definitely going to follow Apple strategy, or perhaps they will make it better. For example, maybe I'm not pretty sure the size of AirTag. Most probably the other company trying to make it smaller, which is more easier to carry on and at more affordable price, most probably. Okay, because Apple has launched the product. Okay, so similarly when Apple basically launch iPad, so many people say that why we want to use iPad is actually just a smaller version of laptop and it's a bigger version of iPod. But nowadays Apple makes a lot of money through iPad. As you can see, people actually go into mobile lifestyle. That means easy for them to carry at anywhere rather than carrying a laptop. Betul eh? So for example, for the professional, if you go to the meeting, they can simply bring their kind of tablet, and the most reliable tablet basically sekarang ni other companies they cannot follow lah, but for example like Apple and Samsung, but Apple basically better in terms of the integration lah, for example, because you can simply link the integration to iCloud, to the iPhone, to the MacBook, and to the tablet, to the apa panggil tablet tadi? Apa panggil tablet? iPad. iPad. Okay. So having said that, kalau you nampak, so even though in the beginning we want to question, but there should be some kind of vision that be set by the strategies at Apple. Okay. It's quite surprising, right? Because saya during that time, I actually have this kind of preservation whether iPad basically could be marketed well. And surprisingly, until today, they make a lot of money. Even though when I read the views, they still not can be considered as laptop, but they can actually what we call supplement the users of laptop. And the latest price for the tablet, the iPad Pro, berapa harga dia? Cuba tengok sekarang dia iPad Pro latest. Berapa harga iPad Pro? You akan buka mata you sekarang. Berapa harga iPad Pro? Can you actually have a look? Someone please look the iPad Pro price in Malaysia. Okay, because of what tau? Bila kita tengok dekat sini, hello, anyone? Okay, ada dah bagi. Kau targeted. Okay, the price is about 4,000. Is it 5,000? Okay, which is very expensive lah sebenarnya. Okay, for the price of tablet. Okay, okay. So we go next. Conjoint analysis. So we understand that it's very important for us to understand to what we call it create a product that fulfill the need of the customers. So what basically can we use? Have you ever learned about a technique called conjoint analysis? Pernah belajar tak conjoint analysis? Kalau pernah belajar, tunjuk thumbs up. Kalau belum, tunjukkanlah muka terkejut ke whatsoever. Use this kind of, apa namanya? Oh, Christopher belum lagi. Okay, please saya nak tengok siapa yang dah pernah dengar conjoint analysis. Okay, okay. I can see that some of you memang tak pernah. Not some of you, many of you. So conjoint analysis is basically a statistical tool that allow access relatively important to customer of different features because we want to actually measure, we try to actually put some kind of criteria, and from that we put the weightage, and eventually we try to come up with an index. So which one of the features that we need to develop. This is the best combination of features to meet their needs. Okay, even when customers are not aware of the value they ascribe to those features, because sometimes customers do not actually understand the needs until they use it. Okay, that's actually quite common because sometimes we do not know. Okay, typically uses factorial design, okay, to present all different combination of product features to potential customers. So we need to calculate. So the process of doing the conjoint analysis is by having this kind of numerical analysis. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So this is an example of conjoint analysis input and output. For example, we put what basically the features that we want to look at. Okay, this is some of the aspect that we want to look, and then after that we put the weightage, and eventually we can see what would be the purchase likelihood based on the product that we're going to advertise. So this is one aspect. The secondly, for example, when we look in terms of this, okay, we try to make a comparison. So let's assume a scenario where a product marketers need to measure the impact of individual features on estimated market share of sales revenue. So this is where we actually use this kind of conjoint analysis based on the features. For example, if I'm asking you right now, if you buy a phone, what basically the main features that you want to look at? Guys, if you buy a phone, okay, what basically the main features that you want to look at? That basically become your main priority.
Battery life.
Sorry?
Doctor, battery life.
Battery life. Okay, what else?
Then maybe the camera.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Sabah. I want to listen to other students. So beside battery life and camera that being said by Sabah, what else that you want to see? Sorry? Storage size, good. Okay, thank you very much, Chris. What else? Hello, what else? Okay, oh mungkin ada yang cakap kat sini, saya baca chat. The thing like this, so, mungkin saya kena tengok features lah. Color, RAM, okay, screen ultra, okay, for picture storage. So that's a lot of features. So what we actually need to do like here, so we try to make a comparison based on the competitors like this and try to measure which aspect that we have more strength and really demanded by the customers. Okay, so from here, for example, if we said the customer is coming from middle income earners, maybe they want to see in terms of price. So having said that, we need to calculate first based on the what is basically the product, and secondly based on the features. Okay, so the features is going to be used by the company, what kind of next product they want to develop. For example, if they look here, okay, so they can see that, oh, for this market, the main features they want to look in terms of price and operating system. So when they develop this kind of new product, they must make sure that the product is something that affordable by the customers and the operating system working very fast. Okay, so that's actually the example. Okay, and the camera resolution is not many people are concerned about that, but nowadays it's totally different. Okay, we are moving towards this kind of generation. I mean, our generation right now, we love. Okay, when we love to take picture, everything is actually through picture and video. Am I right? Okay, so that's why if you try to observe the way the smartphone company market the product on television or advertisement, what basically the main aspect they highlight? Camera, right? So they're going to highlight about the camera. Even iPhone pun they're going to highlight that they have high resolution even during night time. That means kalau kat sini dah berubah lah, camera resolution basically can be changed. It's totally depending on the market lah. Okay. Okay, so that's actually example of conjoint analysis. How are we going to do that? First of all, we want to see in terms of choose product attribute, in terms of size, price, and model. And then we choose the values option for each attribute. Okay. So that means we need to know what is our product. For example, like we choose laptop. So if you want to buy a laptop, what basically the features? So we just simply put maybe in terms of monitor size and then in terms of the weight, because some people actually do not like to have heavy laptop. In terms of price, in terms of design, for example, if you're gamers, maybe you want to have something that very fast in terms of the processor, can speed very well, in terms of graphic very well as well, and then not so hot. In terms, sometimes if you use this kind of laptop, the temperature can easily going high, okay, because you have you operate a lot of software. Okay, so that's some of the features. And then you need to put the value, the second aspect, choose the values or option for each attribute. So which one that is the most by the customers. Okay, and then define product as a combination of attribute options. Okay, and the next aspect, you need to put a value of relative utility is assigned to each level of an attribute called pathway utility. So that means you want to look in terms of the value. This is simply, I call it like weight. That means which one, we have a lot of things. So which one that actually consider most? For example, if your market consider mainly in terms of price, okay, so you need to actually put this kind of they put here lah a value of the relative utility. Sebenarnya pemberat lah. Okay, you put some kind of weight when you calculate the features. Okay, you cannot actually make assumption every single features that you have listed before is actually similar, because that totally depending on the market. That's why it's very important for you to decide if you have the data of your customers. How are you going to do that? By having this kind of market research report, or you conduct a market study. Because when you conduct the market study, you're going to ask what features they want more. Okay, so from that, you try to segmentize the features that want more by Group A, by Group B, and Group C. For example, if targeting like teenagers or young adults like you, okay, maybe you consider much in terms of price. But if you're targeting those from the middle income, maybe price is not actually pretty much relevant because they have the affordability. But they concern much in terms of other aspect, maybe the design. Okay, so having said that, you need to put this kind of weight, okay, in order for you to calculate which aspect that actually considered much by the customers, and the combination of with the highest should be the one that is most preferred. After you calculate, you might actually look, oh, this is, yes, Faiz, you have question? Faiz, you raise your hand.
Yes, Doctor. Doctor, I just want to ask, usually, right, what kind of data the company needs to do some analysis, Doctor?
Okay, again, for me, the basic market survey first, whether your customer has problem or not. Okay, so you want to make sure that because you want to develop some innovation solution for them. So first of all, you must make sure that whether the problem is real. Okay, it's a real problem or not. If yes, okay, you're going to ask, if you want to propose this kind of thing, do they actually want to use it? Do they really need it? If yes, the third aspect, what features they want? This is should be used for the conjoint analysis. What features that they basically put more priority? Okay, for example, you want to propose them for having this kind of apps, again apps lah. So what features they look into? Okay, so in terms of price, in terms of how well it function, in terms of speed, in terms of designs. Okay, so you ask them to put the weight, because the weight is actually something that will be used for the conjoint analysis as well. You don't simply, dia bukan gini tau. We don't simply, okay, because of what? Conjoint analysis is like to support the data from the market study. We don't simply taken the data immediately from the market study, because sometimes maybe lah from the market study, you might find that price is actually the main priority mentioned by your customer. However, the thing like this, you don't taken into consideration your competitors. Maybe your competitors has basically better position in terms of cost effectiveness. Okay, so that's why you need to tabulate. You can actually observe from this aspect. So that means, okay, beside you looking in terms of that, if what I meant, through your finding, you might find that price is very important aspect. After price is about camera, but the thing is many companies focusing on the price. So the next thing that you can do, in that case, in order to position your company well, okay, you try to actually make a combination. That's why combination with the highest utility should be the one that is most preferred. It's not actually just looking in terms of one aspect. So that means from your conjoint analysis as well as from your market study, you will make decision where for you to launch the new product. So it's a combination of three main features, which is the price, the design, as well as the storage maybe. Okay, because this is something that you can say that our price is relatively competitive with our customers, which is your price slightly higher or slightly lower than the competitors, but your main focus should be in terms of the speed, the design. Okay, for example, like undeniably, I just read sebab I'm in the process of buying a new laptop lah. So I mentioned to you, laptop saya dah pakai 7 tahun ni, start lagging. Ni pun saya pakai laptop office sebenarnya. Okay, so basically when I try to actually normally cara saya mudah je, and the easiest part, because normally for us, for the consumer, kita tak perlu pun nak buat conduct market study, betul? From the perspective of customer or consumer like us, what we do, we just Google the best laptop in 2021. Itu yang saya Google. Okay, the best laptop in 2021. Okay, and the first laptop, dia punya rank adalah MacBook Air, bukan MacBook Pro, surprisingly. Because they actually weighing in terms of price, in terms of design, in terms of weight, so on and so forth lah. Okay, seperti baru HP. HP agak kompetitif juga. So top 5 tu 2 ke 3 HP punya laptop. Okay, so having said that, this kind of analysis, even in the company, they consider so many things. Okay, before they actually say that, Apple, even though kalau kita tengok Apple mahal relatively compared than other laptop lah, like HP is relatively much more competitive than Apple. But when they taken into consideration why MacBook Air emerged as the best laptop in 2021, simply because they taken from the perspective of design, price, weight, storage, as well as integration. This is the best part of Apple, because they can simply integrate the data to iCloud, to iPhone, to iPad. You faham tak maksud saya? So that's why they become such a powerful laptop compared than HP. Even though HP maybe is actually more the price is very attractive, and then maybe the design is nice, but they don't have this kind of connection. Okay, for example, they couldn't simply link the information to your other tablet, whereby currently we use a lot of data, right? Okay, so secondly, ada juga komputer yang dia buat apa yang Huawei. Do you know Huawei have a new laptop called, it's very confusing, they call the laptop as MateBook. Okay, MateBook can also do this kind of share. That means you can simply share your what we call it, your data from the laptop to the Huawei phone. So that's actually what they do best lah. Cuma Huawei ni pun masalah juga satu, Huawei pun sekarang ni saya rasa siapa yang ada tak recently you buy a new Huawei phone? Any one of you here yang beli new Huawei phone? Because Huawei start to use this kind of their own software, their own operating system. Then they don't use no Play Store. They then use their own iOS. So having said that, some of the apps basically is not really compatible. So that's actually sekarang ni the challenge faced by Huawei lah. Okay, they have this kind of Huawei gallery, apps gallery to supplement. As part of the punya app store macam App Store for Apple, Play Store for Google, for Android, and then dia tak ada Play Store, dia ada apps gallery. Okay, so I think that's actually show to you how important for the company to conduct this kind of conjoint analysis. The next thing that we can do in order for us to understand about customers is by having this kind of Kano method. Okay, so from here we try to determine the relationship between the present, of the product, features and customer satisfaction when the relationship may not be linear. Sometimes, okay, I just want to simplify what the Kano method all about. Sometimes, okay, like this, evaluate customer preferences when those preferences are different, when a feature is present and when the feature is absent. Some of the features, if not really on the phone, we okay. It's not really impact our satisfaction. For example, I'm okay if I buy a phone without any kind of games. Okay, saya tak kisah. Okay, saya tak kisah because I'm not gamers. Okay, I'm retired gamers lah. Saya main game dulu. But right now, I don't mind at all if on my phone I don't have any kind of games. So having said that, that kind of features don't really impact me well. Okay, but some of the product, okay, if you have games, they just actually increase the satisfaction of the customer. It's not actually won't prevent them to buy your product. Maksudnya, ada setengah features ni, there's one features, if it's not really available, it's okay. But if you offer it to the customers, so the customer might feel more satisfied. You got it. But there are certain product, maybe, okay, you must have it. It won't actually impact the satisfaction because if you don't put the features on the phone or on the product, it's going to actually lead to the customer not buying the product. You must put it in the what we call it product development. Okay, ni contoh dia. So here, ni saya cakap tadi. So based on the kind of method, we need to understand. Like from this delighter, that means for the delighter, okay, initially we actually would say that the linear satisfier. That means the more features that the company provide, the more satisfied we are. That's actually the main assumption. But not all features basically needed, and not all features basically should be included. Okay, for example, like delighters, if you don't put any kind of product that delight the customers, is okay, customers won't complain. But if you put it, customer will be happy. But must have product to by they need to put into the product. Okay, so if they don't put it, so definitely customer don't buy it at all because customer might think that it's not functioning well. Okay, you faham tak maksud saya ni? Can you imagine this kind of things? Okay, for example, like phone, like again phone. What basically the main features that you need to have on your phone? You think, apa yang you kena ada? When you actually use phone, what basically the main important aspect yang you kena ada? Camera, contoh, okay? Camera. Ada jugalah, I'm not pretty sure, but ada juga dulu-dulu orang pakai, orang, kalau dulu orang tak kisah. Okay, people don't bother much when you buy a smartphone without a camera. Am I right? Okay, but right now, camera is become an important aspect because everything will be used through camera, by using camera. Am I right? Okay, so right now, if you buy a phone, camera is must. If you don't put the camera, definitely customer won't buy your product. It's a must-have features. That's what we actually say as a Kano method. Okay. Ni lebih kurang sama lah dia design, okay. Delightful features, masa cakap tadi, okay, initiate satisfaction if they're offered. They increase the notice benefit of the core functionality. Okay. So, and then basic features, minimum features which represent the core functionality of the product, okay, or service, okay. But you must understand, you need to put it, for example, must have like this, okay, basic features, okay, something that you need to include. If you don't put it, definitely customer won't buy it, okay. Okay, so that's actually the second method. The third method is actually perceptual mapping. This is where you conduct a study, maybe during your market survey, you want to get the perception of the customer about other competing products. Okay, so you put this kind of rating, and then you put this kind of features, price, size, speed, cost, on functionality, and try to make the rank, okay, rating of the product. So from that, you can see where is your position and what basically the strength of your competitors with regard to the features offered by all the players. Okay, if you look here, ni lah here, and then from there you nampak lah. Okay, so this is what we call as the perceptual mapping. Okay, the next aspect, concept testing. Okay, you need to test your product. I think if you learn about design thinking, after you develop the prototype, before you launch, you need to test. Even after you launching the product, you need to continuously do this kind of product testing. So this is a procedure in which customers are presented with a new product and observe for or ask for their reaction. I think last semester when you learn about technology entrepreneurship, you need to actually show it to your customers about your product. Okay, at least you get the feedback and improve from the feedback you obtain. Okay, two varieties: a positioning concept test. Present the product concept along with the mock advertisement. That means or perhaps you show a prototype or you show a mock advertisement, what is the product all about, and get the feedback. Or you can simply actually put the core idea concept test, present the idea without a marketing message. So this is basically the example of the product. Okay, so we go next. I think we need to stop here. Okay, sekarang sudah pukul 11.45. Yang ni nanti akan terangkan sempat-sempat 5 minit. Okay, I think this is something that you have learned. Have you learned quality management or quality management subject? Dah belajar belum? Total quality management, TQM.
Dah, Doktor.
Okay, that's good. Okay, because for the topic 3, team 3, basically we're focusing on total quality management, okay, for the product development, more or less, ataupun project management. I'm going to glance through what basically the tool that can be used with regard to the product development. Okay, saya glance through je. So product development can increase the company's success rate and new product development. So here we actually need to look into limitation on time and money, mean that entrepreneurs need to balance between the value and this tool against the financial and time constraint that they face. Okay, first of all, definitely you can use web-based tools. Okay, so this is provide effective way to gather some type of information useful for product development. That means you can use any kind of market research information from the web. Okay, and perhaps you download any kind of report. So that's why it's much more cheaper compared that you need to conduct it by yourself. Okay, this is house of quality. So this is a metric that compare product attributes. If you look here, they have some kind of product attribute with the customer's needs. Okay, used by company to ensure that the product has features that meet the need of the customers. If you look here, for example, they have some kind of features and also what basically the thing that want by the customers. So we actually make some kind of measurement. For example, strong symbol, weak symbol, medium symbol. If you look here, okay, so this metric going to help them in order for you to understand to what extent you actually have more capabilities in producing the product based on the features as well as the need of the customers. This is a very simple nampak kecil lah pula. A very simple example of house of quality. If you look here, you put some kind of features and then what basically the requirement from the customers, and then you put, and then after that kalau you tengok dekat bawah ni tak ada. Kat sini dia letak basically technical requirement important. Okay, so if you look here, you can nampak mana yang basically need to be focused more by the company. And then prototyping, I believe you know about this. Whatever product that you want to develop, you make this kind of prototyping, because at least you can visualize how the product works, and as well as you get some feedback, okay, and reduce any kind of cost of failures during the product development. Okay, this is the benefit of prototyping. You allow companies to consider design alternative before actual product is developed. Okay, and you get some kind of accurate information. So this is what I told to you previously in my early lecture today. The stage gates. So this is where decision-making tool that restrict investment in a more costly stages of innovation process until key milestones have been met. So if you look here, for example, if you actually get any kind of money from the venture capital or government agency that are responsible to give grant, they don't give you in the lump sum amount. Some of the agency will give you according to the stage. So this is where we call it stage gate. So you must actually show some kind of progress on that particular stage, at least 80% before you can receive additional funding. Okay, design for manufacturing. So this is another aspect that you need to consider as well. So a set of rules that structure the new product design process to make product easier to manufacture. Okay, so I think that's all for today. So at least for today, let me put in a nutshell what we have learned today. So the first aspect, we know the importance of product development, and there are three main aspects that we actually focus for today. The first features that we want to focus is a new in terms of how you actually reduce the product cycle time. The second aspect, how basically you identify the key features wanted by the customers. And the third aspect is actually what basically the tool that you want to use for the product development to ensure the quality of the product. Okay, so I think that's actually about chapter 7. So those ada satu group kan yang buat pasal product development, guys. I couldn't remember which group, but most probably you can use this product development topic to guide you when you run the interview. Okay, so any question before I stop? Any question, guys?
Doctor,
Attendance.
Okay, besides attendance,
I want to ask about the interview, because we schedule the interview on this coming Sunday.
okay.
And then you say we will give some recommendation, like our group is about funding. So we give recommendation about funding only, or actually we can give all kind of aspect.
No, just funding. Funding is funding. When we focus on funding, that's why I want you actually to zoom into that case study. Okay. Most probably, I'm actually have in mind because funding is very critical aspect in running any business, regardless whether you basically ask SMEs, even micro enterprise, small and medium enterprises, as well as some big companies. Whenever you ask entrepreneurs, what basically the main challenge that they face is always about money. Okay, so that's why even they already receive funding, I believe there should be some kind of intention of the entrepreneurs or managers to raise their fund in a bigger kind of things. And maybe you can also ask about IPO, because the IPO is actually part of funding. How basically company generate a raising fund through IPO, initial public offering. That means they make it the company public, so public can buy share, but the impact of going for IPO, that means they're diluting their shares on the company. But that's normal lah sebenarnya. Many funder of the business, dia akan hold tak banyak pun, not more than 20-30% of the shares in the company. Okay, thank you very much, Hazel, by highlighting the question. Anyone else that want to ask question? Ada lagi?
Okay, Doctor.
Okay, saya said, mana tadi? Dah sekian attendance. So I think that's all for today. Everyone, dah sekian attendance ke belum? Ada yang belum ke? Okay, so I think that's all for those who has scanned the attendance. You may leave the session right now. By the way, when I check on e-learning, I can see that some of you not visited e-learning for the past 2 weeks. Ada yang tak pernah masuk langsung e-learning dalam masa 2 minggu ni. I'm wondering how basically you submit some of the assignment, because untuk yang interview protocol, as I mentioned, every members need to submit that. Okay. This is one of my ways to measure the activeness of you to join to go to the e-learning. From my check when I checked just now, two of the students never visit e-learning within 2 weeks. Please do that. I won't name who you are, but I can actually check when the last time you access to the e-learning. Okay, access e-learning. Okay, guys, I think that's all for today. Thanks and have a nice day, everyone. Okay, have a good weekend. Okay, you may leave the session right now. Boleh leave
Thank you,
group.
Doctor.
No
Thank you,
worries.
Doctor.
Okay, bye-bye.